This is Tea Time Healing Conversation, and I am your host, Jennifer. I wasn't supposed to be recording this video today. In fact, this podcast was supposed to launch 4 months ago. First, I set a date for myself of February the 14th because I wanted my first series to be about marriage and healing through relationships. That date passed, and then I decided, well, I'll launch it on my birthday. It'd be a perfect gift to myself. Somehow that date passed too. Then I had the great idea to launch on May 12th, which was the anniversary of my mom's passing. Because a lot of my healing journey involves the relationship that I had or actually didn't have with her. But guess what? That date passed as well. So then I said Mother's Day. And I actually did a video on that day with my children. And I decided not to make that the grand re-entry. And then finally, yesterday, June 7th, was the day I was dedicated to making sure that I did my launch. I did record the video. Somehow, I didn't post that either. Every one of those dates came and went. Here I am, halfway through the year, with promises that I've made to myself that haven't come into fruition. And there may be something in your life that's the same way. You've been wanting to start. You've been wanting to say something. You've been wanting to make a decision. And somehow the days just keeps coming and going. I would like to challenge you. Don't wait another day. This day. Choose you. Sometimes we have to realize that the greatest obstacle standing in our way actually is not failure, but it's the idea of perfection. At the beginning of this year, I promised myself that 2026 would be a year of execution and not excuses. I actually chose 3 words that I said that I would live by. They are attention, intention, and execution. See, I wanted to pay attention to everything that was around me, everyone who was around me, because I only wanted things in my space that was going to help me grow, that was going to help push me to the best version of myself. I wanted to pay attention to the way that I walked, the way that I talked, the things that I was putting out into the world. The good book tells us, what a man sows, that shall he also reap. So I wanted to pay attention to every detail of my life. But then I also wanted to move with intention. I didn't want things to happen haphazardly or coincidentally. I wanted to be intentional about every move that I made in my life. I wanted to prepare myself for the goals that I want to achieve. Because I don't know about you, but I've heard it said that if you fail to prepare, then you're preparing to fail. Failure is no longer my portion. Then execution. It's one thing to have intention. It's another thing to execute on those. So this is my execution. Today I choose me. I choose to do it scared. I choose to do it imperfectly. I choose to start where I am. Zig Ziglar said something. It's a quote that I love. And he says that you don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great. And I pray that you guys will give me grace as I stumble, as I grow, as I heal, as I learn, and as I build this community right alongside of you. I choose to start right here, right now, in the true essence of who I am, sitting on the sofa with something comfortable on, sipping on my tea. So let's talk about yesterday. So clearly by now, you guys can recognize that dates are important to me. Yesterday was going to be the grand relaunch. Why would I choose June 7th? This one is a little heavy. So I want to drink some tea because I'm going to need it. 14 years ago, as of yesterday, my life changed forever. It was the day that I found out that the next year of my life, I wouldn't be spending with my daughters or with my former husband. I wouldn't be spending it with my family or my friends. I wouldn't be getting up and going to my job every morning. I wouldn't be making meals or celebrating holidays or birthdays with my children. I wouldn't be going to games or after school activities. I found out that I would be spending the next year of my life behind bars. I guess it would go without saying that that was probably the hardest year of my life, but I made it through. I made it through on the other side. It took work, it took healing, and it's not even a destination that I've arrived to because healing is not a destination, it's a journey. Because even in saying that aloud, which is now public, which is now on the World Wide Web, there was some fear that came over me. There was a bit of shame that came over me. But how can I talk to you about walking in your truth if I'm not walking in mine? But it's interesting how I went through that time in my life and I came home and I was free and I was no longer imprisoned behind bars. But it didn't take too long for me to figure out that I was still in prison elsewhere in my life. I was in a prison of rage. I was in a prison of unforgiveness. One of the biggest ones is I was in a prison of silence. And maybe some of you can recognize that you're in your own prison as well. But I'm here to help set you free. One of the things that I quickly realized after coming back home that things were going to be a domino effect. It seemed like I got hit with one storm after another. And I reached some really dark points in my life. I can remember times in my life where I just wanted to numb the pain just for a moment. So, what did I find myself doing? Taking shots. Sometimes I would take a shot in my coffee for breakfast. There was times I would take shots to go to sleep and even midday just to take the edge off. But one thing that is so true Numbing isn't healing. So I knew that my children deserved something better than the road I was leading down. I knew what it was like to grow up with a parent who had an addiction issue. My children did not deserve that. I did not deserve that for myself. 14 years ago, I lost a year of my life behind bars. Today, I want to spend the rest of my life helping people break through from prisons that they can't even see. I stopped taking shots and I started making tea. It was interesting because it would be times like this, middle of the day, late night. I would put on something comfortable, make me a glass of tea, and sit down with paper and pen or a tablet, listen to music, call a friend. And then I started to realize that just as the tea was soothing to the body, I started to have conversations with friends or myself or even God that helped me to uncover my truth, to lean into God's truth. It helped me to be able to express myself and then just to be authentically who I was over a cup of tea. T.E.A. Truth, expression, and authenticity, and also authentic community. So many times over a cup of tea, it seemed to be a moment of reflection. Conversations happen there. Breakthroughs happen there. The more I drank tea, the more I began to realize something beautiful was happening. Some of the greatest healing conversations of my life happened over a cup of tea. So, this is where it brings us to the breakdown. T.E.A. It's not just about drinking the tea physically, but there's a tea that we can have that is soothing to the soul, healing to the soul. T is for truth. You learn how to lean on God's truth. And you also learn how to walk boldly in your truth. And then the E, it's for expression. A lot of times we suffer in silence and we hide behind a smile. We don't know how to express what it is that we're feeling or what it is that we're thinking. And then some of us, we can express it, but not in a so healthy way. So here with Tea Time Conversation, we learn how to express ourselves in healthy manners within boundaries. And then the A. I think the A is one of my favorites. It's about being authentic. It's about being who God truly created you to be. But it's also about having an authentic community, a community where you can feel safe, seen, and heard, and valued, and loved. Those are the places that's going to help you heal. Healing doesn't happen when we pretend. Healing happens when truth meets expression and expression meets authenticity. So here, right here, this is where the silence ends and the healing begins. What do I see as the vision of Tea Time Healing Conversation? Well, we're going to cover topics that include marriage, divorce, friendship, faith, relationship, self-worth, forgiveness, grief, shame, and whatever else comes along the way. And the one thing that I want you to know, we're not just gathering here to talk about the pain, but we're gathering here to transform through it. So together, we will move from bitter to better, from hurt to healed, from stuck to unstoppable. So for our next episode, make sure you grab your tea. If you're not a tea drinker, grab your coffee too. You're free to come as you are, because whether you're young, you're old, you're married, you're single, you're thriving, or you're barely making it, one thing is true. We were not created to be trapped in pain. This is Tea Time Healing Conversation, where the silence ends and the healing begins. Welcome home.